The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was just the Melvin Gordon signing, what that means for the Broncos this year, and what that means for Phillip Lindsay's future on the Broncos.
Yeah, and that when the news first broke, I was not a fan, and if you had asked me in early March, I would have said absolutely not. Like, there's no move I would hate more than the Broncos making a big splash at the running back position. And for the most part, I still feel that way. I think there's some people optimistic that Gordon could really add another dimension. Um, I think part of it's kind of mental. I think Lindsay's responded well so far, um, but you can see kind of that puts a bigger chip on his shoulder, and he has an even better year, or he takes that you didn't have confidence in me, it kills his confidence, and he declines, or he asks for a trade or something like that, and he shot down the trade rumors so far, so it seems like more we're going to the it'll be motivating. I think right now, he's signed for this year, and then he's a restricted free agent the following year. So he should be with the Broncos for 2 years, which is the same length as Melvin Gordon's contract. So it's possible that, we ride Gordon for 2 years, and then in 2 years from now, we extend Lindsay and make him the back. But running backs just don't last that long in the NFL. So that's maybe a little bit of wishful thinking.
And I mean, we've had this concern about Lindsay since he was a freshman in college at CU, where he's a great back, but he feels too small. And so far, he's beaten the odds. We watched him. We both went to CU together.
Right.
We watched him through that, beat the odds, and he's done that so far in the NFL. But like the average NFL running back's career is 2 years. This is year 3. And it's weird thinking about that with Lindsay, where it's like we feel like he is the type of player who could be a star in this league as long as he can play. But there's always that risk there. And I agree with you that I think he the Royce Freeman competition with him, he rose to the occasion, was clearly the number one back, even though the Broncos never wanted him to be the number one back.
Yeah.
They always wanted him to be the complimentary guy. I think that it'll be interesting to see if this is a way to maybe get him less game action, but more involved in the game. And I guess that's the hope. That's got to be what the Broncos are hoping if they really still want to use Lindsay.
Right. And it definitely just highlights it's so unfair what happens to running backs in the NFL. And Lindsay's making the league minimum salary all 3 of these years. He's going to hopefully get a slight pay raise when he's a restricted free agent, but nothing big. And then it could totally be he has a down year his 4th year and just kind of fades away and never, despite being a Pro Bowl caliber running back, he might just fade out. And it's just the unfairness of the running back position, or maybe he does. Maybe he can, just it sucks to get paid. He has to stay successful through 4 years and show that he's going to be successful beyond that. And, Melvin Gordon beat the odds and he got a $16 million contract, but he had to hold out to do it, and it was with controversy. But it's just the nature of the running back position. I think there was a lot of people, because he was a fan favorite, calling and saying we should do the right thing. We should give a pay boost to Lindsay, even though we don't have to, even though it's not business sense, but just to treat him right. And the Broncos did a complete 180 on that in a lot of ways. So,
and it just shows you how expendable running backs really are in the NFL.
Yeah,
because the difference, if Drew Lock the next 2 years is as good as Lindsay was in his first 2 years, the Broncos will be giving him a huge contract.
Yeah. He'll be $100 millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, Lindsay has been the brightest spot for the Broncos the last 2 years, and it doesn't really matter. He's now the second highest paid running back, and I think it also just tells you, the Broncos have had, as most teams do, just a carousel of running backs over the last decade, and Royce Freeman is a great example of that. High round player, never really found his footing, and now really doesn't have a role anymore on this team.
I, it's just crazy how cyclical to me it is because I remember way back when Hillman was signed and he was going to be the next big thing and unseat Marino. And then he didn't really work out, had a couple years, and then fans gave up on him and couldn't wait to cut him for Devontae Booker. He came in and was supposed to be the big thing, and then had a year of hype on Booker, and now we're sick of him and want to go to Lindsay and Freeman, and people were pissed he was on the team the last year, and now it's just like the cycle continues, and yeah, it's really just been a carousel, and kind of it just amazes me we get infatuated with one when we draft them, and then a couple years down the road we're sick of them and sick of them taking carries from the new back we're infatuated with.
Yeah, and I think, there are two things that I think over like at least our lifetime in the history of the Broncos that are true. The quarterback is all that matters, and running backs are replaceable. And I
Yeah,
mean, the thing about the post Terrell Davis Broncos was they just have a new guy every year get 1,000 yards. Only one of them really had enough success to do anything, and that was Clinton Portis. But like, at least the system worked, and I guess that is the hope with bringing in new offensive coordinators. If we can get the system to work, then we have this talent of Lindsay and Gordon that can get us something extra, and not just be like a
right.
system around Drew Lock.